Dr. R. Sugaraj Samuel. He is working as a professor in physics at New College, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BIT SAT. He has more than 16 years experience in both teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals, which is prescribed for the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has presented papers in several national and international conferences and has also conducted many training programs and workshops to motivate energetic students. His research areas are ultrasonic, polymers, crystal growth and photovoltaic systems. He is experienced in both regular classroom teaching and online teaching as well.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in BSc Honours in Physics. We have been discussing about the concepts related to electricity and magnetism in this lecture series. In today's lecture, we are going to see the concepts related to the simplification of electrical circuits. Before we start this lecture, let us see what we are going to learn, that is the outline of this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the concept related to ideal voltage source, an ideal current source, and then some of the network theorems, and in particular the Thevenin theorem and finally the Norton theorem in this lecture. Let us start our discussion with the question, what is a voltage source? A voltage source is the one which maintains the potential across the two terminals constant. And how is the voltage maintained constant? There are various means. We have to separate the charges and keep them at the terminals. Especially the electrons are to be kept in the cathode and the deficit of electron from where the electrons have been taken. So, that terminal will be maintained as an anode or the positive terminal, and the negative terminal is filled with or kept in negative potential by keeping the electrons accumulated at the terminal. So, this can be done by various processes like electrochemical process, photovoltaic process. So many methods are there, but we are not going to get into the details of how the charges are separated and the voltage is maintained. But for us, the idea of maintaining constant potential difference across the two terminals by a source, that is necessary, that is enough. And this is giving us an idea how the potential is maintained constant. If the potential is maintained constant, if it is not affected by the externally connected circuit to a voltage source, then it is called a ideal voltage source. So, let us see the definition for an ideal voltage source. It is a two terminal device that maintains a fixed voltage drop across its terminals. It is often used as a mathematical abstraction that simplifies the analysis of real electric circuits. It is a mathematical model. However, it may be ideal, a circuit when it supplies the current to an external source, the voltage that is maintained across the two terminals will get affected, but unless until we keep that source as an ideal source, we may not be able to take it as a constant voltage. But for the mathematical reasons, we can make an approximation that it is an ideal source. And now similarly, we have the current source. Similarly, when a source is able to supply a particular value of current to the external circuit, then it is called an ideal current source. But generally when we have it in practical case, the external resistor or the external load that is connected across the terminals will definitely have a effect in drawing the current, but that source should not change the current value when it is called an ideal current source. So, let us see what is the definition we have for an ideal current source. The ideal current source is a current source that supplies constant current to a circuit despite the voltage dropped in the circuit. Unlike an ideal voltage source, an ideal current source has the following characteristic that allows it to act as a 100% efficient source of current. The ideal current source is also a mathematical model. So, when we assume that the current is constant supplied by a source, then it is a ideal current source. So, these we will be using when we simplify the electrical circuit. So, the idea about these two are needed for the further concepts that we are going to see in this lecture. We will go ahead with the simplification of electrical circuits. In so many cases, when we want to solve problems, the current that is flowing through a component or the voltage across a particular component, we need to use the laws or the rules for simplifying the circuits. What is the necessity for having some of such theorems? We are going to learn about the network theorems in the upcoming lectures, including this. So, what is the need for that? We will know the need and then try to learn about the theorems. So, this is the need for network theorems. Let us have a look at the needs. Solving for currents and voltages in multi-loop electric circuits can be quite complicated, particularly for AC circuits. The Kirchhoff's voltage law and Kirchhoff's current law, in short called as KVL and KCL, always hold good in electrical circuits, but using them sometimes become tedious. Some of the much advanced theorems help with network analysis. And one more thing, along with KVL and KCL, we can use the Ohm's law also as far as the DC circuits are concerned. But when the circuit becomes a complicated one, we need to go for some specialized theorems. So, here comes the network theorems. First, we will learn them for the DC circuit, and with the modification, necessary modification like phasor diagram and all, we will be able to implement the same for AC circuits also. Before we go into the details, let us have a look at the theorems that are available in solving such circuits. So, let us have a look at the available theorems. Some of the important fundamental theorems of network analysis are these: Thevenin's theorem, Norton's theorem, superposition theorem, reciprocity theorem, maximum power transfer theorem, substitution theorem, Millman's theorem. But according to our curriculum, we are not going to learn all of them. Then what we are going to learn? Let us have a look at that. We will be learning the first 5 theorems up to maximum power transfer theorem we will learn, and in particular today's lecture we are going to learn about the Thevenin's theorem and Norton's theorem. We are going to learn them in detail. So, let us start with the Thevenin's theorem first. Have a look at the theorem. To analyze networks with sources that are not in series or parallel, then we may have to use the Thevenin's theorem. To reduce the number of components required to establish the same characteristics at output terminals, we have to use Thevenin's theorem. To investigate the effect of changing particular component without having to analyze the network after each change. Again we may have to use Thevenin's theorem. These are the uses. There are so many occasions, so many connections in which we may not be able to say whether it is series or parallel. In those situations, it is better to apply the Thevenin's theorem. Sometimes we use symmetry concept into the electrical networks, but Thevenin's theorem is a very systematic approach for simplifying the electrical circuits. But what is the theorem? Let us see the theorem as such. Any two terminal DC network can be replaced by an equivalent circuit consisting of a voltage source which is mentioned here as ETH and a series resistor RTH. To learn in detail, this is what we have here shown as a circuit. This is an electrical network. It has got two terminals here as A and B. What is here in this? It is called as network 1. It is some network, and whatever be the component present in this network, that can be replaced with the equivalent network which is shown here. It has to be replaced, whatever be the component. It could have lots of components, but when the moment we identify these two terminals, this network, entire network can be replaced with a equivalent voltage source ETH and another equivalent resistor which is called as RTH. The TH represents the Thevenin equivalents, but they have to be connected in series like this. And how do we have to calculate this ETH and RTH? That is what we are going to discuss in detail in this lecture. And here we have the two ends A and B. See, here we have the two ends A and B, here also we have the same two ends A and B, but this is the highlighted part is the Thevenin equivalent. I will show an enlarged picture also, because this is a very important picture we have to keep in mind. The Thevenin equivalent voltage and Thevenin equivalent resistor are to be connected in series, so that it replaces the entire network. So, this is the background we have in learning Thevenin's theorem. Then how do we have to calculate the equivalent voltage and equivalent resistor? There is a method by which we have to do it. Let us see how it is done. The equivalent voltage value ETH is calculated by returning all sources to their original position and finding the open circuit voltage between the marked terminals. I will explain in detail, though it is a very typical statement. This step is invariably the one that will lead to the most confusion and errors. In all cases, keep in mind that it is the open circuit potential between the two terminals. We have to carefully handle the components. If it is a voltage source, if it is a current source, accordingly we have to keep them in the circuit based on this statement, so that we could find out the ETH. It will be better if you take a practical case. I would like to show a practical circuit for explaining how do we have to keep the voltage source and current source. Have a look at this. This is the open circuit voltage. See, here we have the two terminals and there is a network, and to calculate RTH first, set all the sources to 0. Voltage sources are replaced by short circuits and current sources by open circuits, and then find the resistance between the two terminals. If the internal resistance of the voltage and current sources is included in the original network, it must remain when the sources are set to 0. To find out ETH and RTH, I would like to take up a typical circuit and show how it is done. See here, the voltage sources are replaced with short circuit and the current sources are replaced with open circuit. Have a look at this. Here we have this as the current source and this as the voltage source. Like that we have several current sources and voltage sources with their polarities shown. When we want to find out the Thevenin equivalent value, see, the current source is open circuited. We do not have open circuit, means it is removed, it is open circuit here. And here we have the voltage source that is short circuited here, that means it is connected across. So, this is how we need to consider the current source and voltage source. I hope you could easily understand by referring to this diagram. The current sources are all open circuited, voltage sources are all closed circuited, that means the terminals are connected, and then we need to find out the resistance that is existing across the two terminals, the A and B terminals. See here, these are the two terminals A and B, here we have. So, across this we need to find out the equivalent resistance R1, R2, R3, R4, and that is the equivalent resistance, Thevenin resistance. And then when we connect them, we have to use the equivalent circuit in this manner. Now, have a look at this. This is the original network 1, and suppose we want to use another network to be connected. Yeah, we can connect the network 2 across the two terminals. Now, if we replace this network 1 with the Thevenin equivalent, so this is how we need to replace, and network 2 can be anything. It could be a load, or it could be another circuit, a feeder circuit, or whatever it is, and we have a Thevenin equivalent. The complicated circuit is replaced with two components, a voltage source and a resistor connected in series. So, this is how the Thevenin equivalent circuit for any given circuit could be arrived at when we simplify network theorems. Now, we can take up a practical case and try to implement the Thevenin circuit, so that we could understand what is the circuit. Have a look at this. Find the value Vx by first finding the Vth and Rth to the left of AB. This is an example sum. See, here we want to find out what is the voltage drop across the 2 ohm. Even without using the Thevenin theorem, by using Ohm's law and the current branching that is done here at this point, we will be able to solve this. See, this is the current it is supplying, and that current is divided into 3 components here across this, and then they combine here, and we will be able to solve it. But using Thevenin, how do we solve? That is the question. So, we take up this easy network to find out the Thevenin equivalents. See, this is how the Thevenin equivalent components ETH and RTH are calculated. To find VTH, here we call it as VTH because it is a typical circuit. Instead of ETH, we can call here it is as VTH. First, remove everything to the right of AB, because this side, these are the two terminals across which we want to find out the voltage. So, remove everything, that becomes a network 2. So, remove them, and now we want to replace this section with the Thevenin equivalent. This section has to be replaced with the Thevenin equivalent. So, we need to consider there is only one voltage source. So, how do we replace the voltage? We have to short circuit. So, it is done, it is short circuited here, it is short circuited, and the remaining resistors are all there. We have found out what is the RTH. How the ETH is done, that is what is done in the previous. See, this is the voltage across AB. How do we find out that? See, here this is the 30 volt. What is the voltage that is across this 6 ohm will be the voltage across this AB, because there is no current flowing through this 4 ohm. This does not drop any voltage, the voltage is dropped across this 12 and 6 only. So, what is the voltage across AB? That is done using the voltage division concept, it is calculated, and the equivalent resistance is also calculated. Now, we have the two values at hand. Now, we can go ahead with the Thevenin equivalent. See, the entire section replaces the earlier network, which has got 3 resistors and a voltage source. Now, we have the Thevenin equivalent 8 ohm and Thevenin equivalent voltage as 10 volt. So, now the network has become very simple. Now, we can find out what is the voltage across this AB terminal. Once again, the voltage division circuit is used, and we have found that value as 2 volt. So, the calculation becomes very easy. This is a very simple circuit in which we have applied the Thevenin theorem to find out the potential drop across the two terminals A and B, across especially the 2 ohm resistor. In a complicated circuit, this kind of simplification will become handy to find out the unknown quantities. Now, we will move ahead to learn about the Norton theorem. What is that? Let us have a look at this. A linear two terminal circuit can be replaced with an equivalent circuit of an ideal current source, which is represented here as IN, the N stands for Norton, in parallel with a resistor which is represented as Rn. See, this is the network that has to be replaced by an Norton equivalent circuit, and this is the Norton equivalent circuit. This network can have all sorts of components, but we are going to replace all of them with this simple one current source and a resistor connected parallel to the current source. In the case of Thevenin, it was a voltage source and the resistor connected in series, but here a current source and a resistor connected in parallel. Again, we need to find out the method by which we need to find out the current value, that is IN, the source, how much current it has to supply, and the Rn, what is the Norton equivalent. These two are to be calculated. So, how do we calculate those two? Have a look at this circuit. This again tells how the replacing is done. A network, typical network is replaced with Norton theorem, and how to calculate the IN and Rn. IN is equal to the short circuit current at the terminal. In the case of Thevenin, we have to open circuit the two terminals A and B, we have to keep them open, there should not be any component across them when we calculate the voltage, but here it has to be short circuited, that means connected. And how do we find out the Rn? Have a look at this. Rn is the equivalent or input resistance when the independent sources in the linear circuit are turned off and the load is open circuited. The terminologies may appear little difficult to follow, but with an example we will be able to understand them. So, let us see how it is done. Have a look at this. The short circuit current ISC, which is called the I Norton, is a current when the load is short circuited. See here, the load is 0 volt, it is done here. See, this is the load and here is the voltage, is the current source. See, it is short circuited and then we need to find out the voltage. The input resistance is the resistance seen by the load, which is shown here as IN, which is 0 ampere. It is also the resistance of the linear circuit. When the load is open circuited, the load RL will become infinity. The short circuit current ISC is the current when the load is a short circuit, which is RL is 0. So, this is how the equivalent circuits are all done. In the Norton circuit, the current source is the short circuit current of the network, that is the current obtained by shorting the output of the network. The Norton's resistance Rn is the resistance seen looking into the network with all sources deactivated. This is the same as that of RTh. The Thevenin equivalent value of the resistor and Norton equivalent value of the resistor, both when they are calculated will be equal to each other. Let us take an example for understanding this. Have a look at this circuit. Find the Norton resistance and Norton current value, the current flowing through and the load voltage across the load resistor by using Norton theorem. So, this is a given circuit. We need to find out what is the Rn that has to be used in the circuit. Hope it is connected parallel to this IN. So, we need to find out what is the Rn value and also IN value, and using that replacement we need to find out the current that is flowing through the load voltage across the load resistor by using the Norton theorem. We need to find out what is the load voltage, that is the question, but we have to use the Norton theorem for solving it. So, this is how it is done. Have a look at this. Step 1, short the 1.5 RL, this is a load RL, this has to be short circuited. It is done here. See, we have short circuit, we have connected them. by short circuiting. Why it is done? Using this only we need to find out what is the current. Step 2, calculate or measure the short circuit current in the Norton, that is the Norton current. We have shorted the AB terminals to determine the Norton current IN. The 6 ohm and 3 ohm are then in parallel, and this parallel combination of 6 and 3 are then in series with the 2 ohm. When we look at this current part, we will be able to understand. See, when this is short circuited, these two are in parallel, 6 and 3 are in parallel, these are in parallel, the two terminals are connected, and this is in series with the 2 ohm. That is what is explained in this paragraph. This paragraph tells that. So, the calculation is done. The total resistance of the circuit to the source, in short we have got the value. As I said, the RT and Rn will be the same. So, this is how it is calculated. It is calculated here as the 4 ohm, and again we need to find out what is the current, the short circuited current. Have a look at the circuit. What is the current through this, that we need to find out, that is what is calculated here. The IT is calculated here, it is 3 ampere, and now we have found the I short circuited current by applying the current divider rule. What is the current that is flowing through this, that is also calculated. Have a look at this diagram, and also these steps we will be able to understand. And now step 3, open circuit sources, short the voltage sources, open the current sources, short the voltage sources, and open load resistor as shown in the figure. We need to find out what is the resistor now present. This is how we need to find out. See, the voltage source is short circuited, we do not have the current source here. So, this is how it is done. Step 4, calculate or measure the open circuit resistance. This is the Norton resistance Rn. So, now we have reduced the 12 volt DC source to 0, that is short circuited, is equivalent to replace it with short in step 3. We can see that 3 ohm resistor is in series with a parallel combination of 6 and 2 resistor. Now, it is calculated as 4.5. By carefully looking at these steps, we arrive at the Rn as 4.5. This is step 5. Now, we have replaced the circuit with the Norton circuit, the 2 ampere source, which is the current source, and 4.5 is the Rn, Norton resistance. And now, we need to once again connect the load, which is 1.5. We have to find out what is the voltage drop across this. The circuit becomes very simple for us to follow. So, a 2 ampere current is flowing, according to the resistor value they are getting divided. This is calculated here. See, the current division is done based on the resistance. Hope these expressions are easy to follow expressions, and we have found the current through the load as 1.5 ampere. So, these are some of the practical cases by which the Norton theorem is used. Now, finally, look at the simplified network. So, this is the simplified network, and we have solved the problem. So, this gives us an idea how the Norton theorem could be used. So far 2 theorems we have learnt with an example, and we have the other theorems to be learnt, but these are the 2 basic theorems we need to keep in mind. We have to understand how the equivalent values for the 2 circuits are calculated. So, I think we have come to the concluding part of this lecture. We will summarize what we have learnt in this lecture. In this lecture, we have seen the concepts of network theorems, especially Thevenin's theorem and Norton's theorem. We have learnt in detail with the example problems too. Before we wind up this lecture, let us test our understanding by answering these questions. What is need for the network theorems? Mention some of the important network theorems that are used in simplifying circuits. State and explain Thevenin's theorem with an example. State and explain Norton's theorem with an example. So, with this I would like to conclude this lecture and see you in other lectures with the other concepts. Thank you for watching.